Thank you for staying with us. This is Nigeria Decides. Over the weekend, former President Olusegun Obasanjo released a letter, taking a swipe at President Muhammadu Buhari, accusing him of plotting to rig the general elections and putting into practice the lessons he learned from Abacha. To discuss the strong-worded open letter with us in the studios, we have Dr. Ademola Ademusun. He is a social entrepreneur, which is very interesting. It's good to have you here, Doctor. We also have Austin Ugochukwu Ikeakor. He is a communication strategist and a political analyst. Good evening.
Good evening, gentlemen. It's now time to do some hard talk. Now, most definitely you read that open letter. This isn't a first coming from Chief Olusegun Obasanjo. However, what's your response to this letter? It isn't the first, but we've always seen sharp criticism coming from him, especially when it's time to do some assessment. We are looking at concerns and areas where we should take a critical look at beyond sentiments. Your thoughts?
Thank you for having me. I did not actually go to read the letter until I decided to come onto this show. And I should tell you what I felt about the letter. You have to judge a man by his antecedents and the things he does. Either comes to justice, they call it equity, you must come with clean hands. If you be my critic, you must have a better alternative. And the government we have at hand is not a perfect government. It's been run by a human being who has his own frailties and difficulties and all of that. And governance, as I know it, is not an easy thing to managing a family is hard enough. Managing a diverse country as Nigeria is great work. And his letters over the years for me tried to belittle the Nigerian problem. And so
When you say belittle the Nigerian problem, because he highlighted issues of corruption, security, and then some alleged plots to rig the election coming from the APC camp. Now, these are fears that some other individuals within the country, be it politicians or the average Nigerian, have shared. So some will say, well, we should take a pinch of salt when we are treating this matter and not necessarily deal with sentiment and say it's the letter he sent on the record.
I think when an elderly man in society talks, he needed to be taken seriously. But when you make allegations without facts, and you presuppose I'm about to shoot you, and you can't show me having a gun on me and trying to pull a bullet at you.
So you say he has no...
He didn't give us any facts. And
he made mention of the 16 billion upfront that was supposed to provide power supply, and up till now we've not had any additional...
Who made?
That was according to Olusegun Obasanjo.
Which 16 billion?
Well, we take a short break because we have a report, right after that report, we'll come back to the conversation. Here's something on the Obasanjo open letter.
Believe that as a watchman, that it is appropriate at this time to bear or to speak out, let me put it that way, and say what I see, and where there is need to raise alert, where there is need to raise alarm, call for alarm, and where there is need to commend. Nigeria now needs a man with better physical and mental soundness, with an active mind and intellect. This administration has reached the end of its wit, even in handling all security issues, but particularly Boko Haram issue, partly due to misuse of security apparatus and poor equipment, deployment, coordination, and cooperation. This is a tough time for almost all Nigerians in different respects, but the people's will shall triumph. All people who have registered to vote with their PVCs must never allow anybody or anything to deny or deprive them of the right of performing their fundamental civic duty of voting and sustaining democracy.
Now, before we took that excerpt, we were having a conversation about some $16 billion being paid upfront for electric power supply. Now, that was also a response from President Buhari. Now, it's just been putting or pointing the blame game all throughout. But do you think beyond sentiment, we have issues that we're supposed to be addressing properly? And then you also listen to the former president speak there.
You see, we have issues. Nigeria is not the Nigeria of our dreams. You know, scripture says, for example, when the foundation of a thing is faulty, what can you build upon it? No, the problem with this country is that leaders mouth stuff that they don't live up to. Corruption. What is corruption? It's the abuse of a normal process. When something is normal and then, I mean, it's been abused, you know, an abnormality in a system is corruption. The system upon which Obasanjo ruled, even what is writing as a letter, is a corruption of a process to which you have already aligned yourself. Obasanjo has already taken sides on this matter. He has hosted a man, he has sanctioned, he has pledged support to a man, endorsed him, and is already actively engaged with him. So now, if you bring us a conversation on the Nigerian process, it's already a biased conversation you are bringing to the fore.
Because he has pitched his tent somewhere does not take away from the fact that he's an elder statesman who has been in this position prior to Buhari. And who has also been someone in uniform, and he's using his experience to say, look, yes, we're not perfect, but this is what I foresee. And this is a person, because of course Nigerians have said, well, why are you coming to tell us this? Why do you not tell him in person? He says, this man doesn't listen. Why do you take away from the fact that, hey, because he supports somebody, he has no right as an elder statesman to point out some things that he feels are wrong? First of all,
calling an elder statesman, it doesn't fit the bill. An elder statesman is someone who is trying to make sure that despite all the chaos and the differences of opinion in my community and entity, I stand there as a guardian angel to make sure that family, state, community, society, nation lands safely.
Okay. All right, Ugo. I know that you have a different opinion on this matter. I tell you, I'd read some of the quotes from former President Obasanjo. He says, Nigeria belongs to Nigerians and it's not for just one man. We should do away with it's my turn mentality. He also went on to say, democracy has become a sham. If people who should be important or impartial and neutral have no integrity, what do you presume he's referring to?
Well, first of all, thank you for having me. And I strongly disagree with Dr. Ademola, so I just want to put it out there that I strongly disagree with him.
That's why we're asking this question.
And Obasanjo is an elder statesman, right? That's a fact. For someone that has been a part of Nigerian politics from the 70s up to this moment, he has been at every key part of our Nigerian politics. You know, talking about when we transited from the military to the democratic rule in 1999, he did something like that in the past. All right, Obasanjo is the only military leader that willingly gave power to democracy. Buhari didn't do that. What Buhari did, that Buhari removed an elected civilian government in 1979, the late Shehu Shagari that just passed on a few weeks back, may so rest in peace. So what I'm saying is that I'm not a big fan of Obasanjo.
But you know, Obasanjo also wanted a third term as well. And then Buhari also, when he lost the election, he also...
No, he wanted a third term. That's for sure. That's right. The truth is this: Obasanjo is not a perfect man. He has his flaws, all right. But at this point, I'm interested in listening to the message of the watchman. I'm not interested in the character of the watchman himself. Because the truth is this, in the letter, I took out my time to read the letter. The letter have like 4 silent things I talked about. Well, the question he asked me was talking about INEC, all right? He talked about INEC, the mutilation of the judiciary. He talked about the Boko Haram issue, And what again?
He talked about the vice president.
He talked about the vice president going around the market sharing.
Allegedly.
No, it's not allegedly, because we've seen videos of the vice president in the market. I don't know what he's doing there, because all right. And but for sure, the truth is this: INEC, all right, INEC at this point has not shown the country or the whole world that is ready to be an impartial judge in the coming election in the next few weeks. You know, I say this thing because bear in mind what happened over the last few months in Ekiti and Osun State. We saw how the election in Osun State was bastardized. There needed to be a rerun. All the observers that came into the election, that watched the election process, from the EU down to the people from the United States Embassy, all of them condemned the election. There was high level of voters intimidation. Voters buying was there.
But the vote buying, some people would say, happened on both fronts.
It's not about the vote front. But the issue here is that INEC has a responsibility to conduct a free and impartial election. That is it, all right? If both parties have misbehaved, deal with them according to what the law stipulates. And the issue here is that Obasanjo said the Amina Zakari has been touted to have a close relationship with Mr. President, and she is handling an important position few weeks into the election. So that itself already has raised a lot of controversy, a lot of question into the integrity of INEC at this point. So INEC is going into an election with a lot of question around.
It has been declared that Amina Zakari has no relationship with the president.
Well, it has been declared, all right, but that is still there. It's still a question that is at the front burner. What should INEC do? INEC, I believe, in my opinion, should try as much as possible to.
So you expect that she's out of the picture so that we can clearly say that we have free, fair, credible
so there's no issue.
Now,
so at the end of the day, if the result comes out and the other party loses, then we can say that there was nobody interfered in the process.
Dr. Ademola.
Please, before you, I think you see we'll lose track of this discussion if we get political. I'm not about to argue for either side. I'm about to talk on Obasanjo and his letter. And the truth of the matter is this. When out of 30 years of a corrupted governance in Nigeria, if a man had a share of 11 years as the #1 man who controlled the affairs of the nation, what we have had for the last 30 years is sham governance. And that is why when you don't plant a good nation, you can't reap a good nation. Nations are built on institutions. They're not built on personalities.
But a lot of people would make a case that it was in Obasanjo's time that the EFCC was not necessarily what it is referred to as today loosely as a toothless bulldog, as compared to his time when it was headed by the, I think that's the Kaduna State Governor.
Ribadu.
Yes. So again...
Okay, is EFCC now a toothless bulldog?
I said as regarded as today.
As people would describe it now.
Today, compared to what it was when it was brought about under Obasanjo's government.
I think the issue in the letter is that you make allegations about a man. You call yourself a watchman. What are you watching? How have you watched? Who brought us Buhari? Was it not Obasanjo that brought
that as well?
I'm not
I was going to move towards that as well.
There was an interview conducted by DW, that's the Deutsche Welle TV, asking him about, there was a letter he wrote earlier on about Obasanjo, about Buhari, saying that, he did certain things that he wasn't supposed to do. And then the question was posed, but you supported this man when he first came out. He said, well, if you are going down a road and a man tells you that I am good for the job, and you support him because you think he's good for the job, and down the road, he decides to deviate, would you still keep following him? He asked the person. Obviously, he's saying, well, I thought he was going to be the man for the job, but right now he's not the man for the job, so should I still keep following him instead of pointing out that he's not doing the right thing?
The thing is this, let's make this clear. The next election in the next few days is not about Obasanjo. It's not about anybody. It's about Buhari. It's a referendum on Buhari, his performance. And the fact that what Obasanjo stated in his letter there, things have happened over the last few years. And he said in the letter, one of the things he said, like the Boko Haram activities is worse at this point. The truth is this, that insecurity has increased. Nigeria has fallen down the security index. War-torn countries like Syria, Afghanistan, are better placed compared to us. All right, lives have been lost consistently. When Buhari was coming in 2015, he came in on 3 cardinal points: economy, security, and I think
the fight against corruption.
Fight against corruption. And the truth, the fight against corruption is a sham. That's the truth.
I think we are being more political than being factual. Boko Haram issue. before Buhari came in, Boko Haram was as far as into Abuja. Boko Haram controlled and ruled and collected taxes in 22 local governments in Nigeria. They were ruling there with their flags. Please.
No, I'll ask you to provide, because he's saying what
No, please. These were the facts on the ground. Now, maybe there is one local government that Boko Haram controls. I don't know. Maybe. But I know they've been pushed out of most of those local government. Now, the issue of me talking about Obasanjo in this letter is not about corruption has not been wiped out in Nigeria. It's an ongoing process, and it's the work of institutions. And corruption is not just about money. Corruption is about culture, values, and society norms. We are a nation that has been built on corruption.
But what we seem to see as the fight against corruption in today's world is taking back monies.
Oh, well, that's a place to start
as opposed
from.
To what you just described.
No, see.
That's the reason why people are apprehensive about the fight
if I'm going to rein in my wayward child, if I'm going to rein him in, I have a wayward child, I have to start from one process that begins to teach him some basic lessons of people stole us blind. They were sharing our commonwealth. Is it not a place to start to recollect when the country needs money for vital infrastructure?
What about those people who have moved from party A to party B, who have also looted the coffers of national or state, treasury?
Can I say something at this point? Can I say something at this point? See, the truth is this. We're talking about 2019 election, and I'm not trying to be political or anything. The facts are facts. Facts are stubborn. So you can't deny or push it away. We have a Ganduje that is the governor of Kano State that was caught on cameras taking money. Buhari traveled abroad and gave him accolades. All right, he defended his actions when he had a town hall meeting, I think in Germany, with some Nigerian community, some Nigerians over there. And this is somebody that is in your government that was caught on tape. He's still a serving governor under APC. So that's number one. Number two, there was an SGF. All right, I've forgotten his name.
Babachi
Lawal that took the money that was meant for IDPs. These are people that are hungry.
He has been relieved of his post.
He's yet to be prosecuted. There is a NEMA report that has indicted Osibanjo that the money that the Chinese government gave Nigeria to intervene and do something towards the IDPs. See, nobody has been prosecuted. See, nobody
needs to respond to this.
Definitely, you respond. But can I finish my train of thought? Nobody is saying that we don't understand that Nigeria has a corruption problem since the days of Cardinal Zongo up to this moment, right? See, how do you fight corruption in it? You fight it by institution. All right?
Thank you.
Obasanjo has his back. Obasanjo is the same person that established ICPC, EFCC. At this point, let's not look at the character of the watchman. He brought this government in 2015, like you rightly said. And this one, he can say that this government has not performed well. Or with all any indices, you can prove anywhere. Economy, we were still under recession. For the first time in Nigeria history, we got into recession because
I think technically we're out of recession, but now let's have a proper conversation here now. Yes. We are looking at the president's response to this, and he said, well, he described it as the last push by a desperate politician. What do you make of that statement?
I quite totally agree with him.
Because?
I'll take you down memory lane. As a young A-level student, we had an election in Nigeria. Awolowo, Shagari, UPN, and Obasanjo was supervising that election. He came out and told Nigerians, the best man will not win this election. It was neither the FEDECO that was conducting the election, it was just the president. How did he know the best man will not win? It was because he was going to manipulate the election, and he did. And he gave us the MPN. The MPN in modern day history of Nigeria is the precursor of PDP, because most people in PDP are their fathers or their uncles and their leaders in MPN. They ran down Nigeria. This is one man who did that. When we Nigerians, under the leadership of Babangida, who incidentally gave us the best election we ever had, the June 12, 1993 election, there was no violence on that day. There was no rigging of election. There was no tribalism. There was no religious sentiments, because we lined up behind the winner of that election. Won in the north. It was a Muslim ticket. Nigerians didn't complain about all of this. It was the best election we had. When Babangida annulled that election, Obasanjo told us, the winner of that election, It's not the Messiah Nigeria needed. That was the man we voted for. He was the one who came after that to inherit by subterfuge and manipulation through his courts in the military and got the civilian presidency. That now when he came, why didn't he become our Messiah? Why didn't he establish a Nigeria that can grow? We can put something on a solid foundation. Which solid foundation did he give to us? Solid foundation of corruption? Solid foundation of uprooting with leaders in the parliament? When he impeached governors by word of mouth, threatened them. Under his regime, this Ngige was removed by the Andy Uba and the Chris Uba clan. He was the man in presidency who gave money to legislators, and they brought those monies to the assembly. They were displaying it for the world to see. Now, what I'm saying here, my infuriation against him is this. When did he get born again? By what standard could I see that you, that have calling the kettle black, you have changed your ways?
Well, he was born again when he wrote an open letter to Yara.
No, a letter doesn't make you born again. That's what I said. When we started the discussion, I made a point. I said, he's playing politics. And you have to see through his politics. Because he's no longer a watchman. He's no longer an umpire. He's already a man on the side of a boxer. He has his own side. And everything he's done, his letter is to weaken his opponent. He has no altruistic motive and is not counting on Nigerians.
So simply put, you are saying all of the facts, the issues he has highlighted.
There's no facts.
That's why I said issues. So you mean all of the issues
there
he
are
has
allegations
highlighted?
that are politically laced in the strategy warfare.
Even the ones you've agreed to?
Like which one?
You said you totally agreed with something just a few minutes ago. So even the ones that are glaring truths, you still disagree because of the nature of the man?
The government we have now is imperfect.
For example, I want to put a question to you. It's been running in my head. For example, if a man has gone to jail because he stole, and he's come out to realize that, well, stealing isn't good, and then his brother is now stealing, and then he's telling his brother, do not steal. Should his brother say, well, oh, you thief.
You have no moral justification
you have
to
no
call
moral
me
standing to tell me not to steal.
That's why I was asking that when did he get born again? By the president.
If he made mistakes while he was president and he's seeing those same mistakes, shouldn't he say something?
I have another title I wear. I preach. The easiest thing to do is to preach by the word of mouth. But the more difficult part of your preaching is to live the life you preach. It's so easy to talk. Talk is cheap. Anybody can see anything.
Definitely talk is cheap.
No. I want to make a point. No, please. Please, you will come in, please. You said something I wanted us to go back to. Obasanjo, as a person, has been through an office. You had all the opportunities to do what you are urging other people to do. Not just Buhari. You did it with Babangida, every one of them. I'm saying, because you don't know how to do that thing yourself, and you have never been able to do those things yourself, you are not in a position.
Okay, all right, we're running out of time.
To write us a letter of advice or counsel on that matter.
Okay, doctor, we don't have too much time. Ugo, please come in.
All right, okay, for me, like I said earlier, and I have to repeat it, what is at stake here is that the messenger is not a perfect person.
We've noted that, we are short of time now. Now, the response from President Buhari as well was that, well, he sent a get well soon message as well to Chief Olusegun Obasanjo, and he said, despite the allegations of rigging machinery that they are said to be put in place to rig the elections, well, he promises that we would have free, fair, credible elections. Do you think INEC has been able to build its integrity to that point? Do you think the president's message really carries any weight to also believe that we would have free, fair, credible elections? I
totally disagree. The president's message doesn't carry weight. This is the presidency that does not respect the rule of law. All right? The court has ruled over the last few years that ex-Zazaki Dasuki should go home. This government, despite having a son at the helm of our affairs, has kept him against court orders. So there is nothing in this universe anywhere I can say, even the pastor here can agree with me, all right? Unless he wants to lie openly, that this government believe in doing things right. There's no justification. Then ex-President Obasanjo talked about judiciary. This is a government that went against known procedures and protocols to go and arrest judges at night. in the guys that they stole money. This is not done anywhere. It's not immediate judicial. Look at what happened with the CGN a few days ago. So what I'm saying is this. Whatever the presidency is saying at this point, they're saying it because they're afraid, all right? Obasanjo is a key player.
Do you see free, fair, credible elections conducted by INEC as opposed to what Obasanjo is, saying?
At this point, I doubt. If INEC is going to prove to us in the coming days, maybe. But at this point, INEC has not shown anything. The last 2 elections, that was a test run to 2019 election, was flawed. The Osun election and the Ekiti election.
My response on that.
Dr. Ademusun,
we're out of time.
One sentence, we need to go.
But just a sentence to wrap.
One sentence. One sentence.
INEC, as it is, like I said, we are building institutions. They're not perfect. And they are not populated by aliens. They're populated by Nigerians with some traces of corruption in all our lives. I think we should all get that clear. We have been built on corruption. Our businesses, our getting driving license, passports, every process that we all have benefited.
And it's time to get things
right. And this man, for the first time, Buhari, for the first time, is the one that is making an attempt.
Okay, thank you very much, Dr. Ademusun. Thank you very much,
Olusegun
Ikeakor. We've been speaking with social entrepreneur as well as political analyst. It's been a pleasure speaking with you, Dr. Ademusun.
Thank you for having us.
All right. Well, don't forget you can share your thoughts with us on the former president's letter on any of our social media platforms, on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and of course on our YouTube page. And of course, we'll take a short break. When we come back, more conversation. Stay tuned.
Most definitely.
Thank you.